Hello, hello. My name is Megan Dream. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And today we are playing the new Animal Crossing downloadable content, Happy Home Paradise, where we go to work with Lottie, decorating different villagers' dream vacation homes and different buildings around the island. Today we are going to be decorating Portia's dream vacation home, and she has asked us for a venue for timeless music. So let's go to work and start decorating. So for Portia's home, I gave her this little beach property, and for the outside of the house, I used the square shape. I don't know what these shapes, they don't have names, so I don't know what to call them. For the roofing, I ended up using the tan wooden tile roof, and I used the white stucco exterior. I just used the basic wooden door, and I put a timber door plate in the light brown on the door. For some greenery, I put some orange hyanthus. I do end up taking those out. They end up not matching as well as I thought they would. And I put in some blue hyanthus, I believe. Then I placed some country fencing in front of the house. I didn't want it to go all the way around because I knew it would cut off a lot of space. And I already was pretty limited with space. And then I put some log chairs out, and at first I had the orange wood, I think is what it's called. I thought it would match the wood on the house and maybe the orange in the country fence, but I felt that there was just too many different orangey browns. So I changed the log chairs to a white wood, and I put a log stool and a log bench out as well. I moved the log bench over to the right side. I wanted it to be a little reading area that she could go and just kind of go and relax and look at the ocean. And then I decided to put in a swinging bench in the white wood variation. I did try to place a small cafe table next to the swinging bench. I thought maybe the white variation would match the white wood, but I actually didn't like the legs and the black. So I tried to cover it with a bush. And I still didn't like it, so I changed the colors, and I still didn't like it. I ended up replacing it for the antique mini table, and I thought the phonograph just looked a little bit better on that instead of the square table. I put out a fancy tea table thinking it was going to be a nice fancy area, but I take those out and switch it out for some snacks, because snacks are just always a bit better. So I put out the mixed fruit sandwiches and the pumpkin scones. I also give whoever's sitting to the left an apple smoothie, and then I put tomato juice for the person who can't get in their chair. And then I started adding items around the log bench. Like I said, I wanted this to be a little reading area or a little cozy spot where she can be away from everyone and do her own thing. So I put out a switch light in case she's, tired of reading and she just wants to play a little Animal Crossing or something, on Sims, how Sims can play The Sims. Wouldn't it be funny if they could play Animal Crossing on the Switches? For decorating Portia's house on the inside, I tried something new. And you guys will have to let me know if you like it or not, or if it's just too chaotic. What I did was I just started throwing out as many items as I could, any item I thought I might want to use. So I do end up deleting a lot of these items that I'm throwing out, but if you're interested in any of them, I am going to list all of the items down below in the description box. So let me know if you want me to list all of the items I threw out on the screen, or if you only want me to list the items that end up in the final house product. I can do either, just let me know which one you like. Which one's going to be most beneficial. Since I'm going to be listing all of the items down in the description box, I'm not going to name them all as I'm throwing them out, but I will try to talk about them as I move the items around the house. And then once I placed as many items as I could in the room, I did make the room bigger. And then I changed the wallpapers and I used the blue paint wall for all the way around. And then I used the purple rose wall as my accent wall along the back. And just like the items on the floor, I did put Portia's photo and the antique phone on the wall. Those were a couple items that I knew I wanted to have in her house. I didn't know if I'd want them necessarily directly there, but if they're on the wall, I'm more likely to remember to use them. There are times where I will see an item and I think it'll look good in the build, and then I completely forget about it because I get distracted. I start doing other things, and I see other items. So I thought this might work. And then I just started to move items around and see where I liked them. I did start by placing items in the top left corner first and slowly just kind of moving my way around. With the wardrobe and the antique vanity, I decided this would be her bedroom area, and I put out an antique bed and an antique bureau. I have a lot of antique pieces in that back area. So from the back wall, I have the antique bureau, the antique bed, the antique console table, I have the antique wardrobe and the antique vanity. I personally love the antique set. I think it looks very classic. And so for the timeless music idea, I thought that would give us a more classic, fancy look that we were kind of going for. Now, I did end up putting another phonograph in her room next to the antique clock on another antique mini table, just like we did outside. But in case you didn't know, if you place one of the required items outside, you don't have to put it inside as well. So I didn't technically have to put another phonograph, but I did choose to. I did put all of the instruments on the left side of her house. I was thinking the placement would look more like an instrument collection, but I can't tell if it looks like a collection or if it looks more like a band setup, like she would go and play these instruments. So what do you guys think? Does it look more like a band setup or a collection setup? And then I put two cool sofas in the white variation with the black on the right hand side of the room next to the phonograph and the antique clock. And that gives it a little sitting space so that if people do come over and play the instruments, they can all sit there and watch them play. I put up a twinkling painting on the wall because she's fancy and bougie, and fancy bougie people have art on the walls, right? I think so. I also gave her formal paper. She's certified in something fancy, or maybe she got an award for being the best musician collector or something. I know. And then I put a fancy frame with the gold frame and the faded portrait. The faded portrait is one of my favorite paintings that the fancy frame has. I just think it looks so pretty. It's just a beautiful girl with a hat on. I love it. And then next to the bed, I put a hanging terrarium, a couple of wall planters, and the potted ivy in the green variation. Next to the faded painting, I put some floral swagger in the blue variation, which is one of my favorites. I loved the floral swagger before the 2.0 update, and the 2.0 update gave us dried flower garland, which looks to me like the floral swagger just on like a rope, and there's a couple more pieces of floral hanging, or so it kind of reminds me of like when you're drying out herbs or something like that, and you just tie them to a piece of string and hang them up. So it's one of my favorite 2.0 items. I love the dried flower garland. And I put out some Casablanca lilies with the purple variation. This is another one of my favorite new items. I think it's so pretty. I ended up not liking the pattern I had on the elegant lamp. I just thought it was a little bit too much, especially with the wallpaper behind it. So I just changed it to a neutral white. I also couldn't quite figure out what I wanted to put in the back corner. I didn't want anything that was going to be too big and bulky and that was going to cover up the sweater and the broom that I had on the wall. But I did want something on the table. So I ended up using the incense sticks. I wanted some more art on the walls to make it look more elegant and classy. I put a scenic painting on the walls. I do like using it just because it is a bigger painting and it takes up a lot of space. Then I don't have to worry about using quite as many items. I also put up the basic painting. Again, I used this one because of its size. I like how big it is. I also liked that it has accents of blue in it. And then I took 2 fancy frames and I put them on the wall next to each other. I changed the art genre and the frames themselves so they wouldn't be identical. And it would look like she had a couple of different art pieces, but then they would be the same size. I placed another wall planter and a terrarium on the wall by the sinking painting. I wanted to match the plants in the bedroom side and have it be a little cohesive, so I also added the wall planters. I really didn't know what else to put on the walls. I did put a deer decoration, tried to make it fit. I didn't like it at all, so I did take it out. But I love the stylish wall spotlight, and I placed one on top of every painting. I thought that would give it an extra fancy feel, like Portia had the money to get special lighting just for her art. I put in a light switch because the villagers tend to really enjoy that. And I put an iron shelf on top. And then I put a key holder on the other side of the door. Don't mind the sinking painting on the floor. I do take it out. I don't think I noticed it on the floor until like the very end, but I did take it out, so don't worry. So this is Portia's house all finished. If you would like to check out Portia's dream house for yourself, you can find it on my Happy Home Network, and I will list that ID down in my description box. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you have a wonderful day or night or evening wherever you are. Bye!